The online war that lasted for half a year is over. The Russian government proposed 206 amendments to the constitution, and with 78% of votes in favor, the amendments were accepted. Yahoo! People voted for stability, for traditional values, for social security, and rights for the decent old age, and other good stuff. But was it really voting for all these popular rights, or was it something else? Let's figure out today. I am Natasha, and welcome to my channel, Natasha's Russia. I need to say that voting or referendum created a lot of mess in our community. First of all, it wasn't actually necessary because according to law, these amendments could be adopted by constitutional court decision without asking people's opinion. But it was held during pandemic anyway, risking lives of thousands. Secondly, agitation against amendments was forbidden. What makes this plebiscite or whatever legitimate?
And I'm not talking about frauds during voting process.
Our government spent on this voting around 15 billions of rubles. Salaries to organizers and people who are working for 1 week, ads on billboards, flyers, ads on TV, and buying influencers. Even my friends with the audience over 1 million on Instagram was bought to promote these amendments. So imagine how much money was pushed on all of this. It is almost equal to budgets of Jewish autonomous region, Kalmykia, or Nenets autonomous region. Was it really necessary when the country is fighting coronavirus and having economical issues? So I got my constitution, a new constitution, by the way. It was sold even before people accepted the amendments. So let's figure out what Russian people actually voted for. Article 67, I don't know how to call it, point 1. Russia is the successor of USSR. Well, Russia said about that in the 90s. At the time, the USSR ambassadors became Russians, all the contracts, international contracts became Russian, and international debt also as well. Why do we need to write these words in the constitution after 30 years? I don't know, maybe to make those who have nostalgia about USSR happy.
So in fact, nothing changed.
The same chapter included words about faith in God, honoring our ancestors and defending fatherlands, and a little bit about kids. In the Article 68, it was mentioned before that our governmental language is Russian. Now they added a sentence that the Russian language as the language of nation-forming nation. Probably they wanted to play on some nationalistic views here. Created a lot of controversy and regions though. The culture of Russia is a unique heritage of its multicultural nation, and it's supported and protected by the government. Well, about the value of our culture, it was mentioned before in other articles of our constitution, for example, in Article 44, so nothing changes here. Then they added more articles about protection of ethnic identity of all nations here and support of our citizens abroad. However, we have a law about it, and the government did this before, so nothing changes in fact. The minimum wage cannot be lower than the subsistence minimum. Well, it is written in our law and it was already applied, so nothing changed. About pensions and social support of citizens. Pension must be increased at least once a year. Amazing amendment. But they didn't say anything about age of retirement, and they didn't say about the retirement income.
So basically, they can increase the retirement age till 100 years and set an income as 1,000 rubles and increase it every year with, I don't know, 100 rubles.
All important politicians and government officials are forbidden to have foreign citizenship or residency, and also accounts and deposits in foreign banks. Well, all of these is written in our laws, and nothing changes. Example, there is Article 77 about Russian mayors.
But notice, all of them are allowed to have foreign real estate. So soon I think we will see a lot of politicians, running with big bags abroad.
Article 79. The Russian constitution should take precedence over international law. Well, this norm was already written in our law before about the constitutional court, and the Russian government can already ignore the international decisions. Nothing changes here.
But actually this law is quite weird for me by itself, like if the country conducts an international contract and it's clear that the international law should prevail over the state one.
79.1. Russia take measures to improve safety and peace on the international level.
Well, it's quite debatable right now.
And now we came to one of my favorite amendments that forbids gay marriages, or defending marriage as a relationship between one man and one woman.
Article 72. The joint jurisdiction of the Russian Federation and the constituent entities of the Russian Federation includes G1. Protection of the family, motherhood, fatherhood, and childhood, defending the institution of marriage as a union of a man and a woman, creation of conditions for decent upbringing of children in the family, as well as the fulfillment by adult children of the obligation to care for parents. Okay.
The point is that here we can play with words. It's not written that the institution of marriage is a union of only a man and a woman. So nothing stops the government from creating a law that the jurisdiction of Russian Federation will include the institution of marriage as a union of people of any sex. It won't contradict the constitution.
Guys, this is not I'm saying because I'm not a lawyer, but this is what I read from the lawyers who are specialized on Russian constitution.
Article 114 describes the powers of the government. They added a lot of good words there. Government now strengthening the family, creating a stable environment for disabled, supports volunteers, and the most important forms responsible attitude towards animals.
Okay, there are a lot of good words, but no meaning actually.
So these amendments, most of them look like more like preamble to constitution, not like constitution itself. These statements are not legally binding actually, but they look good, and these are the amendments that were used in pro-amendments agitation.
Don't you value your cultural history? Don't you support traditional marriages? Or maybe you don't want to have our old people a decent old age and let all these governmental employees to have their money abroad?
It doesn't matter that these words don't change anything, but they look good on billboards. And these are the amendments that people were voting for. But what was hidden from people? What wasn't used in agitation and most of people weren't voting for? What was all of this about? Here is a bunch of amendments that increase the power of Putin, allow him to stay in power forever, and secure his immunity. In Article 92.1, Putin has been granted the right to run again for 2 more terms and granted immunity. What does it mean? It means that it will be impossible to prosecute him and put him in jail. And in order to take his immunity, it follows the same procedure of impeachment. It needs the agreement of 4 authorities: our Duma, our Constitutional Court, Supreme Court, and the Federation Council. So if Putin wants to have an immunity, he needs to have at least half of the supporters in one authority at least. And having an immunity for a president is quite dangerous because it allows you to do anything you want without being afraid of persecution. Then next, the power of the president over government is increased. He was already forming the government and he could dismiss all of them. But now it's mentioned in the constitution that he forms the government and its structure. After consulting with the Council of the Federation, he appoints and dismisses the heads of federal executive bodies, including the federal ministers, in charge of defense, state security, international affairs, justice, foreign affairs, emergency prevention and liquidation of natural disasters, public safety. All these ministers. Now they added additional power. Now the president doesn't only appoint the prime minister, but he also dismisses him. Before, if he wanted to dismiss the prime minister, he had to also dismiss all the government. Now it means if the prime minister becomes more popular than the president, he can easily be dismissed, leaving all the government at their places. How is the government formed? Well, before, the president offers the candidature of prime minister to Duma. Duma appoints him anyway, because if they don't, they are going to be dismissed. And they appoint prime minister anyway. After this, the prime minister offers the candidates for ministers' positions, and the president appoints them. Then, if he wants, he can dismiss all the Duma. With amendments, the main ministers, the most important ministers, are appointed by the president. The secondary are offered by prime minister, and they are appointed by Duma. If they won't be able to appoint ministers for 3 times, they will reject it, for example. These ministers will be appointed by president anyway, and Duma will be dismissed. So no options for these guys anymore. Before, the president controlled the government, of course, but he did it through prime minister. Now, the president controls everything by himself, and he appoints the minister of defense, of state security, international affairs, of justice, of foreign affairs. And it's easier to fire prime minister now. Article 107. Before, the president could block any article or law that was accepted by the parliament. But if 2/3 of senators or deputies voted for this act again, the president couldn't do anything. The law was accepted anyway. Now, with amendments, the president can veto any law by sending it to Constitutional Court, which he controls fully. It looks like they're probably afraid of opposition to take more places in parliament, so they might influence on our politics so much. Article 109 adds more options for dismissing Duma. Before, you could just dismiss them if they declined 3 times the prime minister candidature or because of mistrust to government-wise. Now Duma can be dismissed if they don't appoint ministers. So it means if the prime minister wants to appoint his cousin, he will appoint him anyway. If Duma doesn't like it, all of them will be dismissed. Okay, enough about our parliament and prime minister. I hope you're not sleeping there. The last point is about our judicial system. Article 83. Before, the president could appoint the candidatures of Supreme Constitutional Judges, and the Federation Council was appointing them. Now the president not only can offer the candidatures, but also initiate the dismissal of present judges. I don't know, maybe he's afraid that present judges will go against him, and so now if all the judges are literally controlled by the president because he can fire them, we can say bye-bye to the independence of courts. In the Article 83, the Supreme Prosecuting Attorney is also appointed by the president now. Before, he could only offer the candidature to the Federation Council to appoint him. 95.2. The number of members of the Federation Council appointed by the president is increased. According to our old constitution, the president could appoint more than 17 people in the Federation Council. According to the new constitution, he can already appoint 30 senators, and he can be a senator after his resignation. Requirements for becoming a president are tightened. Before, it could be any person holding Russian citizenship, not younger than 35 years old, living in the territory of Russian Federation for not less than 10 years. Now, the candidate must live here for not less than 25 years, can't have and didn't have before the citizenship of another country or a residence there. Here's the only one exception for Crimean people if they were citizens of Ukraine, which is logical. According to this new constitution, I will not be able to be a president because I had a temporary residence in Egypt and I had a residence in UAE. Also, nobody who was studying abroad will be able to become a president. I wonder how Putin will be, because he lived in Germany for a very long time. And according to new constitution, Peter the Great couldn't be a president as well, because he studied abroad a lot. And the biggest change here is the same person may not be elected president of the Russian Federation for more than 2 terms running. That was the most important word. Now they took away the word running, and a person can't be a president for more than 2 times, except Putin. The head of the country is forbidden to have another citizenship, residency, and money and accounts in foreign banks. But he can have real estate, as we know, yeah? But it doesn't change anything, in fact, because this law already existed, so nothing new. The Article 125, Constitutional Court changes. The number of judges of the Constitutional Court will be reduced from 19 to 11. The court will check the constitutionality of laws. Then they will be able to check laws and dismiss them if the president vetoed laws before, as we said before. So literally the Constitutional Court is going to work for the president. And also the court is going to check the decisions of international courts. Then they added a lot of words, but nothing really actually has been changed. The president can dismiss the government at any time he wants, and there were some changes in local governments. Our country will be more centralized, and local governments get less freedom. In a few words, it will be like this. You are the head of small area, government gives you money because government said all of you must build hospitals, but you have already a lot of hospitals. You need, for example, to build schools, and you can't build schools because government told you that they give you this money only for hospitals, and you go and build hospitals that you don't need. So I hope I could explain to you the main amendments, and now you can form your own opinion about it. It's clear that the amendments were written in hurry. Too many words are not clear. Too many words without any meaning. How will they be used and manipulated in future? Why did Putin increase the power of the president and decrease the power of prime minister, but blocked the opportunity to run for the presidency more than twice? Only time will show. Thank you for watching this video till the end. I know it wasn't easy, as well as it wasn't easy for me to create this video. It took me actually time to understand and analyze all of this and listen to different opinions about the amendments. So like this video and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, because a lot of interesting things about Russia are waiting for us to be discovered and understood. Thank you, see you, and пока-пока.
Как вы относитесь к возможности увеличения срока президентских полномочий и к возможности избираться на этот пост 3 и более раз? Я отношусь к этому отрицательно.
С первого дня работы в качестве президента Российской Федерации я для себя сразу решил, что я не буду нарушать действующую Конституцию. Говорят, что самая большая зависимость от власти. Я этого никогда не чувствовал. Я вообще никогда не был зависимым человеком от чего бы то ни было.
Легко можно было поменять важную, конечно, для жизнедеятельности государства.
Есть Конституция. Я никогда Конституцию не нарушил. и никогда не менял Конституцию. Так что я буду работать в рамках основного закона России. Конечно, если избиратели дадут мне такую возможность работать еще один срок, буду работать, разумеется, с полной отдачей сил.